So to give a quick brief about me, I am an Kalani alumnus, and I have a 15 years industry experience spanning various industry segments, typically business services, manufacturing, and rural e-commerce. And I worked in a variety of companies, starting from business research, consulting, manufacturing, like I said, in consumer durables industry, as well as a rural e-commerce company. As a product manager, as well as playing a variety of roles. So typically my strength has been analyzing the market, analyzing the competition, identifying the key market players, the market segment, how big a particular market or industry segment is, who are the key competitors, and how companies can deploy these to grow for their business. And now I've transitioned to a new role where I'm looking to establish a personal brand for myself as a management consultant and a professional speaker, helping you. When I say you, it could be an individual or a professional company or an entity using custom business intelligence. So the business intelligence is a very abstract term which is used, or intelligence for that matter. So typically the idea is to focus on market aspects as well as the competitive intelligence, as well as data intelligence, which has come to a very, very important area. But considering the nature of our session today, we will limit this with market and competitive intelligence. I'm sure we will focus on data analytics and data intelligence at a later point in time, whenever there's an opportunity which could come. Okay, so this is a very interesting point. Just think to yourself, the best part of competition is that through it, we discover what we are capable of and how much more we can actually do that we ever believed possible. So just imagine if we were a monopoly. So you would understand, or you would imagine that you are the best player, and there would never be great scope for improvement in that particular product, or for that matter, the company or the best practices. So effectively, what a competition does to a company is it helps a company to grow to a very different level. So it helps in driving innovation. It helps in bringing about new strategies so that the companies can thrive in such situations and become a better version of themselves. So now, considering that I focused on the competition as an entity or a company, think how it could be made relevant to yourself. So in a place like India, where such a lot of people are there, we as individuals, so how do you differentiate yourself or an individual person vis-a-vis your competitors or your peers? And that's typically the very crux of it. So effectively, competition brings the best out of us. With that, I start the book. Okay, so putting things in a nutshell, market and competitive intelligence. Let me skip to this slide and come to the other slide again. See, think about these aspects of market intelligence. So typically, the market intelligence is a very broader area, and competitive intelligence or competitive insight is a subset of it. So typically, you have your competitive intelligence, product intelligence, market understanding, and customer insight. So as a product manager, or as an employee, or as an individual, or as a product manager, or as anyone working in a company, you will want to understand how big the market is. Why? Then you would know what kind of opportunities could be there for you as an individual to grow and thrive. So let me go to the other slide. See, typically looking at the market understanding from a company standpoint, you will get to understand how big the size of the market is and what is it your product and the company is focusing on. So let's give a quick example to it. So if I say e-commerce market in India today, so people are going to say it's X billion dollars in the Indian context. So the question is, that's the larger pie for you, and within which, what is the specific segment you or your company is focusing on? See, likewise, put things in perspective. So let me give a quick example of the previous company which I was focused on, rural e-commerce. So effectively, it says I'm focused, my target segment is people or customers in the rural market, and the market potential is as much the size of the rural industry or the rural market in India. And the specific geographical segment is Indian market in perspective. So putting things in perspective, it helps a company to understand who your target customers could be, what could be the challenges you typically will focus on. So it will help to understand what kind of industry challenges you or your company will face at any point in time. And a very important point here is who your key customers. Many times we directly focus on moving, shifting, or fast forwarding to doing customer research. While that's a great idea, I've seen many instances where product managers typically jump into understanding their internal customers, where they say, okay, I'm going to be doing an extensive study of the customers, my internal customers, while I may not necessarily look at the bigger picture. Because I see product managers, I mean, these are again my personal observations based on my interactions with as many people in this space. I've seen people where product managers not necessarily giving as much uh, uh, importance to the market and quantitative intelligence. And why do you think it's very important? Many times, uh, the product managers are very keenly focused on improving their product or their product offering to the customer. While this is a very savvy approach or a very maverick approach, it is equally important to see how big the market is and what is it your competitors are doing, whether it they're doing something great, amazing, or intriguing, and how the customers are falling in line with it. So it's always very important for you as a product manager, or you as an individual, or you as any different company. To, in fact, this will equally apply with any company or an entity or an enterprise or a startup. You think about it, because anyone for that matter will need to understand how their market is aligned. How is the market? How is the market behaving? So, what are the key drivers, key market drivers and restraints? What is the price points, or what are the key pricing intelligence, or the key metrics which drive this particular industry? And are there any specific technology trends which are cracking this particular industry at this point in time? And are there any regulatory or government policies which are impacting your business? And also looking at the cultural knowledge in your business, especially when you are providing a product or a service to an international client. See, many times culture plays a very important role we miss out, or we really do not give a damn about. Especially to give a very simple example, you may want to understand things like how people interact with people. So, which means a person with whom I interact in China or Asian side of the regions might be very distinct and different vis-a-vis my US counterparts or my European counterparts. German customers are very finicky about time. So if you have a meeting which starts at 3, you better start at 3. And that is very similar to clients or customers in Japan as well. So the intent is you have to understand the bigger picture so that it doesn't really impact adversely in your business. While the intention is to grow your business, you can't afford to lose out on your market to competition and market dynamics. These are very important. So, another question I want you all to think about is look at what has happened with the coronavirus now. So, the COVID-19 has changed the entire dynamics of how we, as individuals, as parents, or as entities or companies, start to behave. See, earlier work from home was limited with just say your software companies, but now the entire dynamism is changing. So which means you have a major shift which is moving towards remote working. So these are very different dynamic trends which are impacting the industry. So you got to really have a very approach to it, and it is very interesting to see how companies, in fact, when they step out of the COVID-19, will start to behave. So I think these are very trying times, and these are as well very interesting times where a lot of companies are coming out with different points of view. I will come to that towards the later point of the discussion. Just move on to the next part. So like we said, when you do this right, what could be your rewards? So you could identify new business opportunities, which is amazing. So just think about it. Using the research, whatever you've done, you could identify new business partners. You could identify new business opportunities which you never knew existed. You could recruit people. I mean, the possibilities are just amazing. And the second most important thing is you could understand your customers better. So at the end of the day, you are serving your customer. Customer is the king. So effectively, if you understand the industry dynamics, if you understand what the customer wants, if you understand what the customer needs, if you understand the customer's behavior and attitudes, you are going to serve the customer better. So effectively, while product managers are very savvy about their customer satisfaction or their product's customer satisfaction, it's very important to look at the bigger dimension so that your personification or drawing your persona of your customer would be much more effective. Looking at the third part, measuring effectiveness of your marketing activities. This could be much more impactful as well. And look at the branding aspect. See, branding is a very, very tricky subject. And many times people, between the sales and marketing, there's always a kind of a fight which keeps going on, where sales or marketing gets an upper edge over the sales or vice versa. So during when research done well, you would be able to have razor sharp focus on how you could focus on how branding could be improvised, taking into consideration a lot of market dynamics. And finally, or a little bit before that, getting more insights in your product features. So again, this is something which is very impactful. When you are developing a product, you will always look at seeing who your customers are, and you will always limit your insights, or potentially you would have been limiting your exercise on the basis of feedback you've been getting from your existing customers. So whereas it might be very different to sidestep, you focus on what is it your competitors are doing. So it could just be amazing when you see that your product is very similar, your competitors' products are very similar, but the customer or the customer flow to your competition is very different. So it's all about how the product features have been positioned by your competitors vis-a-vis yourself. So product research is a very interesting area you may want to delve in. I don't think we'll have as much time for it, but that's a separate subject altogether. And finally, while we always talk a lot about competition, collaboration and co-creating is the new age mantra. So I strongly believe that with whatever said and done, there's a great scope for collaboration and co-creating once you keep identifying more and more about the market and the competitors. Because many times you would have thought the competition and he or she or a particular company was a competition for you, but you never know. After all, they could have been a collaboration possibility, and you just didn't miss it, or you missed it. I'll move on to the next one. So, like I said, these are just the tip of the iceberg, and there's more to come. When you start with any kind of research activity, the key aspect is preparing an exhaustive list of questions which pertain to your product or your business. And another question I want to challenge yourself is, you could actually do this for yourself, on yourself. So probably focusing on what you have been as an individual today and where would you want to be over the short term, medium term, and long term. So effectively, this kind of a research approach can be deployed in our day-to-day lives as well as the product you're building or the business which you're running. So this is a very, very key point, and I would strongly focus that or suggest that you give a serious thought to it. It will require a little bit of brainstorming, and this is largely an internal approach where you do it largely within yourself, where you introspect a lot. And if you're doing it with your product or your business team, it might be great to have a small core team who be instrumental in building your product and business, and then have a great go at it. I will try to share something on the Canvas model for it. Probably, I think I'll share it with the GUVi team, and probably they can share it to an email to you at a later point. Okay, so research typically, again, when I say research, is going to be between the market and your competitive intelligence. typically comprises of primary research or your secondary research. So when you get started with the primary research, so effectively, primary research is something which is fresh off the table. So this is something which is not going to be available anywhere. This is not going to be available published freely. So let me give some few instances on how you could carry out the primary research. The first basic one is interviews with industry stalwarts. So I'll give a very simple example. Just think about it. If you are looking to build a product in logistics, interacting with someone in the industry with 15 years or 20 years or 30 years of industry experience is going to give you a fabulous approach for you to understand what works, what doesn't work, and what could potentially work, or what could be the typical issues or challenges which a particular industry or company faces. So the point I'm trying to drive here is, think about it. A person who's been having amazing insight of the industry is definitely not a joke. So it's something which is very rich with as much insights as well as caliber, and it comes with their industry experience. So the first on top of my list would be interviewing industry stalwarts. It could be people who've been in the industry and who've retired from the space, or who've been in top positions, probably like CEOs or sales leaders, and who moved on from the typical mainstay. So these could be key people you may want to focus on. This applies if you're looking to grow within the same company, or look at approaching on getting ideas on getting a new startup built as well. And towards that effect, I will give some specific tips on the key platforms which are available. So one is GLG, which is Gerson Lehman Group. You can just Google it and you'll be able to find it. It's an international platform which gives you some insight on connecting with people across the world. So I think that could be a good start. And obviously, for the time they spend towards helping you, there might be a nominal fee in terms of dollar or US dollar or rupees, but still, I would suggest it is worth it because this is rich data. And then another point on the Indian context is Top Talent. So they also have some very interesting industry participants who get involved, and they step in as consultant or industry expert who can actually share as much support or view to it. And towards, so it's effectively more like an annual briefing where you get time to interact with it, maybe like an expert time, a 20-minute time or a 30-minute or 1 hour, based on which you will pay them that particular fee. The second rich data or primary research tool which I would suggest is surveys. I think it's again a very extensively used one. I'm sure you've heard about your survey tools like Zoho, or Zoho has its own Zoho forms, and SurveyMonkey is another one which is quite effective, the online features. Here again, there is a trick there. A lot of these survey tools have these free packages, and also some of them have these premium packages. So I would strongly suggest you begin with your free packages, but focus a bit on getting some premium packages as well at some point in time, because they have some very powerful tools which are not necessarily available in your free or demo license. So and that, while that is the first part, the second part I would want to say is deploying, or how you design a questionnaire. So how do you define the set of questions you're going to put in the audience, and to whom are you going to administer? So the surveys could be delivered online or telephonic. Online, like you said, the sample size is very, very important. So for getting any interesting insight, I think nothing less than 100 to 200. But again, this is a very random number I'm quoting. You may want to focus on something as per the exact purpose you're looking to do. Because if the industry has only 100 participants, then you can't expect to get 100 data sets. So look at getting 20 to 30% of your overall numbers. And that's a quick overview. And another tip or trick I want to offer here is keep the survey precise and have a mix of both open-ended and close-ended questions. And another important point is keep it sharp and nothing less than 10 questions. Normally, people tend to lose focus beyond 10 questions. So I would say just limit it with just 10, unless you want to do a detailed survey, which will require as much time and effort from people. So I will suggest you limit it unless you want to have a detailed one, which will have to be a paid interview, because I don't think people are going to be very much spend as much time to provide surveys which are endless. And telephonic surveys are also happening, but again, these are losing focus, especially in the digital time and age. So consultation, like he said, is an emerging space. There are a lot of people who are stepping into this space, like management consultants, or typically people who've been there, done that in the market or the industry space, and looking to provide assistance to people in this particular space. But typically on it could be on different areas. It could be on a small project, could be on anything. So it could be on giving an industry overview on a particular space. And field surveys are going to be more relevant when you're going to be doing a B2C rather than a B2B survey or a B2B research for a product and company. Focus group discussions are going to be more impactful when you're going to have a niche set of people. For example, I am a brand which is focused on women. So I would rather do a focus group discussion with 20 women who are aged between 20 to 30. I mean, if I already know who my audience are, or who my key segment or my target audience are, or my target customers are. Another interesting point is attending trade expos. I'm not too sure how many of you all have done it. So the trade expos provide a wealth of information on companies looking to start business, companies who've been there and looking to explore partnerships. So there are amazing possibilities. I mean, I've had people, you forge a lot of long-standing relationships, because at the end of the day, it's all about building relationships and associations. So I would strongly say focus on attending some trade shows, because most instances you will get to see the product, see what kind of services they're providing, and you're going to have a face to it. You're going to see who you are and who they are. So, and like you said, you're going to see what kind of products and services they're offering. And when you get to meet people, it provides a great human connect. So I would highly recommend the trade expos as a tool as well. And the final bit is industry body associations. So a lot of these different industries have different industry bodies. So the banking society has, the retail association has, and entrepreneurs and startups have. So effectively, each of them have very many industry body associations, and they meet up at various points in time. So it might be fruitful to explore on checking on these industry body associations, and they provide some very interesting viewpoints on the industry and the market as well. I'll move on to the next one, which is on the secondary research databases. So these are primarily paid databases. So these provide a plethora of data. So effectively, from your news releases to your PR releases to company insights to company profile to country profiles to the company's financial data. So effectively, these are very different tools which provide as much insight about the company over a huge spectrum. But again, unfortunately, these are a little pricey in nature, which means we may not, small businesses may not have the opportunity to leverage them. But when the company grows to a mid-range or a larger sized audience, you may be able to leverage on each of these. So I'll just quickly run through this. Factiva, Euromonitor, Hoover's, Fredonia, Global Data, Frost & Sullivan, where I used to work earlier, Markets and Technavio. So another interesting point I want to offer here is these, everyone have this specialty. So some of them focus on different industry verticals. So some of them are pretty good in just tech and tech-related products. A couple of them will be focused more on consumer research. Some of them will be focused more on B2B. Some of them are focused on B2C. So effectively, these are secondary research databases which have their own way of segmentation and have their own industry vertical focus. And some of them would also have a focus on the niche of companies they focus on. So they would say companies which qualify, or companies which are above, say, 100 million above. So every company has a particular focus on which area they may want to really focus on. And some of them may focus on just the US and European markets. So every company has their own way and approach. So based on your industry and market segment, you may want to just check and leverage on them. I will want to focus or spend some more time on the secondary research. So these are specifically on secondary research focused on the free open sources. So internet desk research. So I think this is a very simple approach. I'm sure most of you or all of us are already doing it. To give a quick overview, so this is a simple Google check which I did, and this was a report which I have compiled and I've just put in some news there. So you can actually see it gives some information on how big the market is. So I'm sure you're able to see it. So, you can see the industry was worth information. This might be a little high level, but still it might be worth. You may not get segment level information, but still it is quite worth it. Coming back to the company annual reports, so every company or most public limited companies showcase annual reports. So they provide or they publish annual reports on a quarterly or half-yearly or annual report basis. So they are, this also provides a rich source of information, and they provide a lot of insights on how their segment has behaved or how the companies have behaved. I mean, what kind of new promotion they've done, what kind of new product they've introduced, what are the partnerships, have they divested a business, are they entering a new region, are they exploring new branches? Yeah, 100% Mujhe Hello. Am I audible, guys?
Hello.
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 Yeah, I'm just sharing my screen.
Yeah.
I would like to apologize to each of you all. I'm sorry, we lost last 10 minutes of your precious time. Extremely sorry for it. There was some kind of a technical glitch, and I think I'm better off now. Can we get started? Great, yeah. Can I take that as a yes? Thanks, Rex. Thanks. I'm getting started. So we were at the Internet Desk Research, so which is what I was mentioning on the keywords and the press releases which you can figure out from the Internet sources. And Google is a classic case, and I would like to offer or throw some insight on the Google's extensive research possibilities. So I'm not too sure. Maybe some of you have already done it. The key always is all about the keyword. So keyword, and a tip or a hack, if I can say, you can use the operators and booleans. So like we said, you can use the plus, you can use the minus, you can use and, you can use or you can use the quotes if you want specific topic searches. So as with a typical programming language, you can use these relational and logical operators to your effect in Google. And another interesting tip is the same functions work in your other social media sites as well. So keyword is a very, very interesting point. So I'll see if I can share some view on it. And coming back to the red herring draft reports. So you would have seen companies or companies of different nature going for an IPO. So this is equally applicable in international or the Indian context. The red herring draft report provides a very extensive overview on the company's promotion, the promoting structure, the company's the key competitors, the company's market insight. So red herring draft reports are a wealth or a treasure trove of data, which you can easily miss out on. So I would say across different industry verticals you focus on, just have an eye on the red herring draft report when a particular company launches an IPO. So that's a very, very key point. So I would suggest you can actually check it out. Probably you can Google it and you'll get some overview on it. These are normally PDF documents and they provide some very, very interesting views. And next, I would suggest or recommend you look through the industry associations. So like I said, the industry body has very stronghold on the industry, the lobbying or the way industry dynamism works across India, across any part of the world. So in the retail, if any of you guys are here in the retail space, you would have come across these industry bodies like Retailers Association of India. So the RAI, which is very popular among the retail business owners. So if you are focusing on the retail segment as a particular industry participant, either as a solution provider or as a service provider, or probably you are a retail guy yourself, you might want to become a member in these bodies in some capacity. So that is a tip there. And IAMAI, which is the Internet and Mobile Association of India, provides again very interesting overview on the internet and mobile related companies. So in effect, it covers most of your digital and your internet businesses across India. So you will see your Paytms and Amazons and Flipkarts of the world here in the space. So you may want to have an eye on what kind of events these guys are organizing or what kind of meetup they organize, because it provides a great opportunity for you to learn on what's happening in this particular space. And if you have been following the news on current affairs, you would from time to time see these reports on the number of internet or the mobile users across India. So most of these are done by these industry bodies. And interestingly, if you do remember the earlier points on the Frost & Sullivan or the different industry bodies, these kind of industry associations partner with these research companies or these research database companies and come out with a conjoint report which is relevant for the industry participants. So Kamlesh, you have anything to say? I see your hand raised there. Probably if there are some questions, I'll reach out, or we'll have a separate section to it. I'm sorry, the page skipped. Okay, the next was on government portals. I'm not too sure how many of us are doing it rigorously. You may want to focus on Department of Promotion of Industry and International Trade. But again, this pertains to that particular segment where a company wants to do a market entry into India. So there are various industry associations. So you have the rural, the Panchayat Raj, which focus on the rural markets. So you have different different government bodies which are involved in providing business opportunities. So which means there could be a lot of tenders which are floated here, which you or your company would want to participate and partner. There could be a lot of industry related dialogues which keep happening. So Another thing which you may want to have a close look on is the government also from time to time launches these drafts. So what these drafts mean, they open this dialogue where the public-private can have an interaction. So which means uh, before a policy becomes a law or before a policy becomes a bill, there are different draft documents which are prepared, and we as industry participants can participate and share our views or share our ideas and suggestions towards shaping that particular exercise. You can actually see some very interesting space. You may want to just maybe once we're done with the session, look through these segments and you will understand what I'm trying to say. And data.gov.in. I'm not too sure how many of y'all have checked through it. Anyone here who probably you can just raise your hands or give me some overview on whether you've used any of these data.gov.in. Does anyone have a view on it? I would like to hear something from you on here. You could unmute and have a word with me there. Does anyone have a view on it? Data dot. Okay, fine. Let me proceed. So data.gov.in is again an industry body, but interestingly, I mean, I wouldn't say it's an industry body. It's a government. The government has actually opened up the threshold to open source data. So which means you can get population data, you can get insights on the mobile users, or you can get a wealth of data which are available in open source data sets. So you can actually see what are the pin codes available in India, which are the districts in India, populations in districts. You can get some very diverse set of data sets which you may want to look through. This will again help in your market research activity to understand how you could leverage to your benefit. So which means, let's say you are a company focused on southern part of India, and you want to expand your business to, let's say, western part of India, or probably the northern part of India. Within that particular region, which particular region would you want to focus on to begin with? So there are some very interesting areas or interesting data sets which you can pick as a open source user and leverage for your benefit. And the last view on the industry reports, IBEF again is an industry body which similar to IBEF, you have CII and FICCI, which comes out with a lot of industry-related research reports or point of views, which are relevant to different industry sectors. For example, you will come out with, you would definitely see some report which is the rural market in India. You will have a specific segment or section for it. You will find a separate section for luxury goods. You can find something for financial services. You will find something for digital. You may find something on the banking sector. You may find something on e-commerce exclusively. So everything which happens, or anything or everything, any kind of industry segment which is open for business in the Indian market. So these are very interesting documents or data sets which are openly available, which you may want to leverage. And over and above this, KPMG and PwC also come out with periodic insight research reports. So likewise, McKinsey and Accenture also comes out with their own set of mastermind or some series or high performance leadership. They come out with some very interesting views on the industries, which might again be of relevance to you, depending on which industry you may want to focus on, whether for your current product or if in case you want to focus on building a new product or starting a new company for yourself. I think with this, I'll move on to the next set of slides. Give me a minute. I just checked the chat here. Did someone say the audio is not clear? Hello. Am I audible to you all? There's still some problem here. Thanks, Deepak, for clarifying. Give me a minute. I'm just trying to change the next slide. Okay, so internet desk research is something we've already seen. The Google, okay, Google Alert is another interesting thing, which is again free of cost. You can actually check. You can set an alert to yourself. The alert could be something like financial services, could be something like e-commerce. It could be something like public speaking. It could be COVID-19. It could be a set of keywords. It could be a group of words put in quotes. So, like I said, these are Google's way of capturing data and giving it back to you. So these are data sets, or these are a set of alerts which are grouped together and sent to you as per your time frame. So let's say you want this data alerts to be shared over every day or as and when it happens. So these also get to you. And there are instances where you can actually tweak it and say, no, you want this once a day or once in a week or once in a month, which for which consolidation happens, and then you get this information. So has anyone here used Google Alerts to the effect? Yes, no? Okay, great. And move on. Yeah, absolutely. So Anusha, I can completely concur. Focusing on customers or competitor would be better. Yeah, I agree. Like you said, it completely depends. So if you want to focus on the industry vertical, or if you want to get some idea or perspective on that particular segment, it's completely up to you. So how you would want to leverage on. Okay, so while I did mention on the tips and tricks, so what is it you would want to look at? So what do you, or what would I mean by the market or industry research? So these are a high-level overview, and depending on your use case or your industry vertical, you may want to focus on. For instance, market sizing is a great classic case. You may want to focus on how big your market is or how big your market segment is. That's completely up to you. Then moving on, your country profiling is going to be very important, depending on which international or which business you may want to focus on, or which region you may want to focus on. Or if you're looking at within India, you may want to subsect it and focus on zone. You may want to focus on this, whether was it southern India or the western or northern part of India. So you can actually tweak it on the basis of your assessment. And if you want to go further in a very different aspect, you may want to focus on region, meaning you could focus on the pin code level. Or, I mean, completely it depends on the nature of product, whether you're focusing on it for the international markets or for the local markets, and then create a profile or a region profile based on your business situation. Demographics is another important point. So here, like I earlier said, so demographics will actually say uh, what is the population like. So India has a population of very many people who are in the young audience, or like say the 20 to 40 is the bigger population. So yeah, the idea is it completely depends on what level of what is the age profile of your potential customers. That's a very critical point, based on which your product or service would evolve over the course of time. Market share information is again a very critical insight. You may or you may not get this information readily available, completely depending on the nature of research or data which is readily available. So that's something which always is debatable. And another point is on how the segmentation is done. So like I said in the earlier sets, I did mention on the different kind of companies which come out with or provide as many research studies. So the question or the challenge is what what is the business segmentation they are focusing on. So if it is a B2B or a B2C segment, whether the segment you are focusing on in that business has it been covered in the research. So it's very important for you all to focus on the business segmentation in which the business is being pursued or the research is being pursued. Regulatory and government policies, yeah, definitely plays a very important role. And value chain and supply chain insights is again a very critical point. So you want to focus on how your industry is structured, who are the key vendors, how is your supply chain structured, and who are the key participants in this particular segment. And another key insight is the key market drivers and restraints. So many instances, for instance, a B2C product or a food product, attitude of customer plays a very important role in choosing the product. So that's a simple example of a market driver. The restraint could be something like the industry or the way the industry is structured is going to be challenging. For instance, you have very many big players, which means a small company entering into this particular segment is going to be challenging for them. So that could be a very straightforward scenario of a restraint, market restraint. And what are the key industry challenges? So another quick example I want to offer here is until recently, the e-commerce regulation had been a little unclear. So probably people still would say it is still a gray area and a lot of changes are happening over the course of time to give more visibility on or clarity in this particular segment. So that's a particular example of a key industry challenge. Again, I leave it to you to determine what could be the key challenges your industry faces. And final note here is identifying influencers. And so influencers here could be the blogs or the experts who you could leverage at various points in time. I mean, these are very high level information, but like you said, these are starting points for you to focus for your product or for your service on how you would want to leverage for your business. I will move on to the next slide, which is on the competitive intelligence. I will see the next slide, the competitive intelligence. Okay, I'm moving on to the final section, which is on the data, which is a new oil. So I'm sure each of us will understand that data is a new oil. And these are some very interesting, fascinating quotes which I found, where data is playing a key role in becoming a competitive edge for every company. Many companies are focusing on data as a strategic advantage or strategic competitive advantage. So the question is, why we have all along used market research and business research and competitive research. Companies are looking at data analytics and data intelligence. I think we may not have as much time to cover, but I'm sure we will revisit this topic at a subsequent point. I will leave you with some points on the questions where you would like to ask some questions. So I'll pause here and take some questions from you. Kamlesh, yeah, I can see you. You have raised your hand. Go ahead, Kamlesh. Hello. Kamlesh, you have a question? Or rather, the floor is open for questions. Do you guys have any specific questions you want me to answer? Okay. Let me take the first question from Anisha. Anisha, if you can, so let me repeat Anisha's question here. Anisha asked, does every product require research? So Anisha, if I may ask, what is your product? You could type it there, Anisha, or you could voice it here. Okay, great. So I can see Anisha is a student and she would like to understand the product. Okay, let me split this question into two types, or rather, I can actually go into three types as well. The first being B2C, whether your product is a B2C product, which means if the product is a B2C, which means you will have to understand or conduct research to understand the customer better, which is because B2C. So which means you will have to see uh, as many aspects which are focused towards the customer. So I think B2C for B2C, your focus is largely going to be towards understanding the customer, understanding the demographics, understanding the customer attitude, understanding the technology intervention into customer usage, or what I mean, how exactly are people being influenced by technology or anything for that matter? I mean, in fact, as a classic case, today we are in the midst of a lockdown, which is unheard of. So, which means how is a lockdown scenario going to impact different companies and business? So that's going to be a challenge as well. And coming to the B2B portion, so the B2B is something where you will want to understand their entire value chain. You may want to focus on who are the key market participants. So which means in a B2B scenario, so just imagine you are an industrial company or you are a company which focuses on interacting with businesses. So let me reiterate B2B, which is you are going to, I mean, you are a business and the company which you're going to be interacting with also is a business and you do not have anything great to do with the customer. So the question here is, what kind of collaboration do you see? Is pricing going to be the question? Is there more idea towards leaning towards any other government policies? So it's more on industry dynamism. So coming back to your question on the product, it really depends on what is the nature of product and whether is it a new product, is it the product which is released on maturity, or is it a startup, or is it a B2B product, or is it a B2C? So in all instances, research is something which is going to elevate you. So in fact, many times companies say, okay, you build products through your gut and then you win, but it doesn't work that way. Think about all the big companies like your Googles and Amazons and Microsofts of the world. While they may not necessarily say that they are researching every day, think about what they have done. So they have been using a whole lot of data and data sets which people like you and me are sharing to them. So which means the more people who are going to be using these tools are sharing information back to your Googles and Microsofts and the Amazons, which means they are looking through it and using it using extensive artificial intelligence, machine learning, and amazing techniques to grow their product better. So the question is, they may not necessarily voice out saying that, yeah, I'm doing market research or I'm doing product research, but there is a business segment which is called as insights team, which is there, which leverages on all of these in a very holistic sense and tries to piece it together and make sense out of it. So, like you said today, which is where I want to end the slide using data as the context, because we are moving towards a data econ, or we have already moved largely towards. So I would say it's a fascinating way how companies do not necessarily spell it out, saying that yeah, I am using market research. It's something which companies are using it day in day out without letting us know. Because if you're going to be said that, okay, fill in this form and then I will give you $1 or a penny for it, you're not going to do it. Whereas they are using a blanket means and leveraging on our information and gaining out of it. So that's for you, Anusha. Thanks for your question. I will move on to Deepak's question. What is the best way and means to connect with industry experts? Great, Deepak. So, okay, so Deepak, would you want to clarify a bit further whether is it for you as an individual or is it for your company? So, is it Deepak interacting with industry experts or Deepak representing the company interacting with industry experts? I'm just trying to get a perspective.
Yeah, so it's more from, so when you say you do the primary research and secondary research, it's more from the company point of view, not from individual point of view.
Okay, so great, Deepak. So the question here is, like you said, you have very many industry bodies. So since you did mention you are in the banking sector, you will definitely have a whole lot of banking industry bodies. It might again be a little regulated or whatnot, but I'm sure you will definitely have a banking association or something. So you may want to just focus on that. And another open way, which I would recommend each and every one of you all to focus on, is the LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a classic way of reaching out to industry experts. So towards doing that, you could do two aspects. One, you could do a random request saying that you are a person focusing on this industry vertical, and then you want to gain some insight out of you. Out of an individual. So that's a plain vanilla approach. Another approach is something where you get connected. You probably become a content leader, or you start generating content. Let's say you start writing on Medium.com, or you start writing on Quora, or you start writing on LinkedIn as well, and start establishing yourself as a person focused more on this idea and want to become a thought leader, and start exploring ways and means of reaching to the community at large. So this is one approach. Another approach, since I do understand, Deepak, you have some extensive experience in the financial services, you may also want to focus on, let's say, being maybe a panelist in a discussion. So which means there could be some B schools or colleges which require people from the financial sector. So if there is some opportunity which you get, so which means before that you got to be establishing yourself as an expert in that space. Once you do that, it becomes more easier to say that you want to talk and share on your views and findings on that particular space to that particular audience. So that could be another way. And another way is always going to be the networking forums which keep happening. So TIE Chennai is a great forum. And have you heard about TIE Chennai? One question I missed out is, are you guys from across Chennai or across India or across Tamil Nadu? I would like to understand a bit more on that.
I'm from Chennai. This is Deepak.
Okay, great. So, TIE, for instance, the industry entrepreneurs, as they have the forums spread across different parts of India. And I can see Anisha there from Andhra. So there are various startup forums. There are different fintech forums. So there are very many forums and bodies or industry associations which keep interacting or building their association. So these may not be highly publicized like your Retailers Association of India, but they do happen at local spaces. For instance, Anisha, in your case, there could be something in Vizag or Vijayawada or Rajahmundry. You never know. So you may have to keep your eyes open and then focus on your industry vertical and see where you want to be associated with. So that is one. And on a bigger note, your alumni is a great opportunity to reach out to people. So think about it. So which means, so Deepak, so you would have passed out of your college, your B school or your tech school from over like what 5-7 years back or whatever time frame. You may want to reach out to those people who are probably in a prominent position or in a related position who could be designated as an industry expert in this particular space. So that also could be another way by which you could reach out to these experts. And beyond that, like you said, there are always the LinkedIn where you could do a random request. And obviously, if you give some context to it, it helps where people are going to be open enough to explore if there is a way for synergy or partnerships, because LinkedIn is more professional in nature. But beyond that, you can also focus on Quora, because Quora also is becoming quite popular, and people are also sharing more on Medium.com. So you may want to establish some context and reach out to these people. And beyond that, like you said, Cocktail and other portals are also there. The GLG is also the international platform in case you want to reach out to people in the international audience. I hope I've answered your question, Deepika. Great, yeah, thanks. I have Kamlesh who's raised his hand and also typing some question here. Does this application field only applicable for commerce field? So Kamlesh, would you want to clarify a bit more to this? If you can voice out, if you can give more perspective so that I can be more specific to your question here, please. So Kamlesh, I'm unmuting you. You can rather speak or you can type. I'll leave it to you. So the rest of you will keep typing some more questions if you have, or I will wait for Kamlesh's message and then we'll see what we do as the next activity. Okay, so Kamlesh has again typed the point, saying that. Okay, so Kamlesh, you okay? Let me try to answer your perspective. So does this application? Okay, let me put it this way. You're asking whether is it applicable only for commerce fields. So, like I said, it really depends. But this is something you can actually do it yourself, meaning on yourself for you as an individual, Kamlesh as an individual. You could do it for in case Kamlesh is working on a product and then that particular product is let's say faring whatever in whatever way they are doing well. It could be to do a product research to understand how the product is behaving in the market, and finally on the company. So how is the company performing vis-a-vis the competition? So I would say it is applicable for any or every industry, but like you said, what matters is to what extent is it relevant. So while the questions which I put in is a very extensive point on covering the market and industry as well as the competitive intelligence, it may not be, or each and every point may not be relevant for every industry and vertical. It really depends on the product that you're focusing on, and once you get started, you'll get a better idea and understanding on how it is going to be made relevant for you all. I hope that answers Kamlesh. Great, yeah, great. I'll wait for another 30 seconds in case you have some more questions, or I will want to close with a small activity. Any more questions? Any more questions from probably the moderator? Or, I see Deepak already is done. Deepak, Anusha, Kamlesh, and let's see if there are some more people who are. Okay, fine, no worries. I'll move on to the final small activity which I have for you all. Are you all seeing the last slide? Yes.